what set off the latest violence between Israelis and Palestinians? The UN warns that Israel's military campaign on Gaza could lead to full-scale war. And it all started with a familiar act: forced evictions of Palestinians.
Vigils and protests aggressively broken up by Israeli security forces. At stake, the homes of hundreds of Palestinians, long subject to an eviction campaign.
What's going on here is a systematic effort by settler groups, encouraged by right-wing Israeli politicians, to force Palestinians out and move Israelis in, to change the demographics of East Jerusalem and strengthen Israel's grip over the area.
For years, Palestinian families in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood have been forcibly evicted. And now, a dozen more families are facing the same fate. According to the UN, transferring civilian populations into occupied territory is illegal under international law and may amount to war crimes. But this activity has been going on for decades, all the way back to when Israel was founded. In 1948, Israeli forces seized around 78% of Palestine, forcing more than 700,000 Palestinians from their homes. And then in 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel annexed the entire West Bank, including East Jerusalem. Over time, as a result of these illegal settlements, Palestinian territories have shrunk to this. There are two types of settlements. The main ones are built in the occupied West Bank, where more than 400,000 Israeli citizens live in over 130 settlements. Official settlements are all authorized by the Israeli government and receive the same benefits and services as towns within Israel's pre-1967 borders. And then there are settlements that are built in occupied East Jerusalem, which Palestinians view as the capital of their future state. For Israelis looking to settle in neighborhoods like Sheikh Jarrah, many call the act deliberately provocative.
Once they've secured a property, they will move a Jewish family in, sometimes under the cover of night and escorted by soldiers. The families are then protected by 24-hour private security that is provided by the Israeli government, costing about $25 million per year to the Israeli taxpayers for these 2,600 Israelis living in Palestinian neighborhoods.
The international community, including the US, does not accept East Jerusalem as a part of Israel. Yet, despite international condemnation, the illegal settlements have only expanded in both occupied East Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank. This one settler explains his justification.
Yaakov, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No.
Israel is accused of using discriminatory property laws to enable the forced removal of Palestinians from their homes. Civil groups and human rights organizations have acknowledged that laws like this are designed to work in unison with other policies deemed discriminatory, like the controversial Jewish nation-state law adopted in 2018.
The bill describing Israel for the first time as the national home of the Jewish people has far-reaching implications, prompting accusations that the most hardline right-wing government in Israel's history is formally codifying racism.
So when you add that climate to the forced evictions we've seen in the past several weeks, you get Palestinians taking to the streets that triggered a brutal Israeli crackdown, which sparked the violence we are seeing now. Israel says it has the right to defend itself and disputes all these claims.
Israel has responded forcefully to these attacks, and we will continue to respond forcefully until the security of our people is reinstated and restored.
Essentially, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is centered on land, who controls it and who doesn't. And during Israel's decades-long occupation, they've shown that that their control will eventually lead to ownership, however illegal, at the expense of Palestinians. So until Israel's legal settlement activities cease, it's hard to imagine things getting any better.